Hello, fantasy enthusiasts, and welcome back to another episode of Discover New Worlds with Ryan D. Meier. Before we go ahead and jump into this week's interview, I wanted to take a second and share an announcement. We've added more free books and novellas to our lineup, featuring authors such as Adam Gaffin, Ron Lahr, Catherine Weibel, and Troy Young. If you're already a subscriber, hang in there. I'm compiling a new newsletter with the updated download links. And if you're not subscribed yet, head over to www.worldhoppersguild.com and sign up for our newsletter to gain instant access to all of those stories, books, and novellas. Now it's on to the fun part. I'm now joined by sci-fi author Jason DeGray. Enjoy. Welcome back, everybody. I'm joined today by Jason DeGray. Jason, thanks so much for coming on. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Great. Before you go and jump into introducing yourself, I was hoping it'd be okay with you if I read a little passage that I had come across off your website that I gravitated towards. So, you okay with that if I share a little something?
Please, yeah, go ahead.
All right, great. So I went to Jason's website, everybody, and right on the front page there, of course, we'll leave all the links towards the end, but went there and about halfway down the page, he wrote a really great paragraph that I just had to share. So it goes, I'm not just an artist. I'm an imagination wizard. I practice artful magic. All of my books and stories are not mere tales. They are doorways into other worlds. I weave my imagination magic into a vivid tapestry, creating a phantasmagoria of adventure, romance, horror, and suspense. This is what I do and what I offer you. Now, when I read that, that's super powerful for me because that's how I feel about writing and reading, right? Because it works for both sides. So, Jason, walk me through what put that what why is that so close to your heart that that's something that you share right on your front page?
Because I've always felt that that's what I was doing. I mean, as far as having this vivid imagination, and and like you said, we get pulled into it when we're reading too, in kind of the same way, where or and to some extent, like a movie or something, we can get like really pulled up and intertwined with it to where we feel like that we're living it and that we feel like that we're experiencing it. And when I started writing stories, I thought, well, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to create. It's not just writing down a story on paper. Anybody can do that. But to try to craft something that you're using your imagination, like I said, to essentially like peek into another world. I mean, this it's a different kind of storytelling, right? It's something that is, to me, more like magic, more like crafting, using that imagination to try to connect to something that's maybe not necessarily you know in your own head, but something that you're drawn towards. And that is you know really what I see. And it I came to this a couple of years ago whenever I was just like, trying to nail down for a publisher or something what my genre was that I wrote in. And I was looking at all the different things that I wrote, and I was like, well, but there's not just one, man. I mean, these aren't genres, man. These are worlds, I mean, and the things that happen in these places and stuff like that, you know, I, I can't just nail down. I can't explain. And so that's, really when I started uh, looking at it in a different way, as trying to create something, trying to like to share magic. And that's really what I do. And that's really what I have to, really what I'm thinking about whenever I'm sitting down and I'm writing a story. I'm not trying to just write a story. I'm trying to create something, craft something that I could share an experience, a shared experience. That's what I'm trying to create. And so that's what leads me to call myself an imagination wizard.
I love that. And, I think you touched on a lot of things that all of us can relate to. Even these worlds, like you said, that are very foreign to us as human beings here on Earth, it doesn't prevent them from becoming real to us, right? Inside. And that's the way I look at fiction too. When I think of my favorite novels, my favorite characters, these are all people, whether they had magic as characters or they were a different race. They had bits and pieces of humanity in them, and more than bits and pieces, let's be honest, right? Like our characters are as real as human beings are when it comes to, we borrow personalities and so it's very interesting. And I had to share that because it's just such a powerful concept. So I will hand it to you. Now, I feel a little bit bad after stealing that passage because that's such amazing. It's so amazingly written. But why don't you take a second, introduce yourself to everybody, and then we can get to talking about your book, Eve. How's that sound?
It sounds great. Thanks. One more thing, if you don't mind, that I'd like to add
please go ahead.
That it's something that I think really is the hallmark of an imagination wizard. For instance, Robert E. Howard, the guy that wrote Conan, had remarked that he wasn't writing the stories. It was Conan. He says, and Conan, it was like I was sitting and having a beer with Conan, and he was sitting here telling me all of these adventures that he had gone on, and I was just writing them down, trying to keep up. And I had read an article some years ago, and I can't remember the magazine that it was in, but it was talking about this that specific kind of thing, and authors that have written stories in worlds that that they thought that were real, and that to an extent, like they would write one book in a series and then take a break for a couple of years and come back and try to write finish that second book in the series, but the characters had moved on, they had gotten older, and so they were like, I had to stop, I couldn't write the series anymore. And I wish I could remember the magazine article that that, gosh, that was talking about, but it all ties into that, and it all ties into going back to what I was saying. We're trying to get in touch with something that might not necessarily be something that we're familiar with, but that is something that is real, just as much. And so I just wanted to add that. But
no, that's no, it's so true. So, all right. So, no, this is a great segue, though, right? Because let's dive right in. Let's talk about a little bit of your work, because knowing that you feel like that, I can relate to you as a fellow writer, right? And I know that my characters and my worlds are very close to my heart for sure. And that when other people read them, I hope that they get that same impression. So why don't give us a little introduction. Let's dive right into what you've been working on.
Okay, well, my name is Jason DeGray, and I am an imagination wizard, and I have been for a very long time. And it's something that writing, telling stories, living and being in these other worlds is something that I've done since, as far as long as I can remember. I mean, it sounds cliche, but all my life. I mean, even before I could write, I was telling stories. I was going outside and making up these elaborate plots in these fantastic worlds with the cast of characters, and that I would spend days in, and I would go to bed at night and wake up and shove some Pop-Tarts in my mouth and go outside and like continue the adventure type of thing. I mean, so this is this is something that I have always I've always been drawn to, and something that once I started writing, once I learned how to write, my mom tells a story that I was bored in kindergarten, And so my teacher would sit me down and make me write out little stories, little 2 or 3 sentence stories and stuff like that. I mean, even so far as back then, and in 5th grade, I was accused of plagiarism because of a poem that I had written for it was like a Valentine's Day project, and the winning poem was going to get published in the school newspaper. Well, I wrote this poem, and my teacher said, "There's no way you could have written this. There's no way a 5th grader wrote this." I had to go to the principal's office. They called my mom. Like, everybody got down there. I mean, and it was like, it was a huge thing. And my mom's like, "No, he's been doing this." And so so yeah, it's writing has been something that I have always done, and it has been my main passion and my main goal in life is to write and to share these worlds and to create these things that you know I, I want to share with other people. And on the opposite side of that, finding new worlds that I could be a part of as well. I mean, because that is a huge part. One of the things that people uh, say is, what happens when you can't write, and I say, I don't write. Robert E. Howard did this thing when he couldn't write, and he called it filling the reservoir. And he would take a month or two off for writing, and then just read books, watch movies, go out and do this or that, and and experience these things, and go and find these other worlds, and immerse himself in them, and fill up his own creative reservoir as well. And so it's very much a two-way street. And and like I said, something that that is my passion. That is what I've been writing or doing.
That's awesome. So let's talk about the world of Eve. Could you give us a little introduction to this?
Okay, well, Eve started out as I love cyberpunk. I mean, I'm just saying that's probably my favorite sci-fi genre. For
Sure.
I love it, and I got it in my mind to it's like, well, you know what, I want to try to write a cyberpunk novel. And so I sat down and hammered out the first couple chapters, and you know got to the place I wrote out my ideas, and I was like, this that I'm not there. And so I had to break into the world, and so when I did that, that's really when things started coming alive. So the world itself, it takes place. It's in the distant future, I guess a couple hundred years into the future, and mankind has basically ravaged the earth, and the only thing that's left as far as cities and stuff like that are what they call the corporate free states. And Eve
Okay.
takes place, the story main setting takes place in one of these that's called corporate Denver, and it's the corporate, one of the corporate free states up here. And so that's there's within that city itself, the city itself is a very cyberpunk type of feel, type of setting, with cyborgs and technology and the corporations and the disparity, all of that cyberpunk stuff.
Sure.
It's all in there. But the world got bigger, and so it moved outside of really that cyberpunk genre, and I started writing weird fiction, and so outside the corporate the corporate free city, up in the mountains, there's what's called a heart, and there's hearts dotting the planet, and the hearts are these small groves of natural life that nature left, that haven't been totally destroyed, that none of the corporate free cities can get into, right?
Okay.
And it really starts deviating from the cyberpunk and getting into a little bit of like magical type of realism type stuff, because the corporations like they can't get in there, they can't find the people that are in there, the rainbow
Yeah.
children that live in the hearts and things like that. They can't find them out. They can't go in there and take from these places and stuff that they think that the earth is actually trying to push back and to keep them out. And so there's this a dichotomy of technology and nature, and the, the last remnant of natural life,
Yes.
and it's still not enough. They still want to go get it, type of thing. And so and that's kind of the world that Eve and the other main characters are navigating through during this time, during the story.
And is it a multiple perspective? Is it first person? How did you put it together?
Oh no, it's third person, and it's
Okay.
third person omniscient, and it happens to. I've got there's really three main characters. Um, Eve, of course, is one to the books titled after, and she's this uh, hybrid, part human, part machine hybrid that the corporations have put together, and they whatever first gets introduced, she has amnesia, and so her goal is to go and get back, remember who she was. She wants to get her memories back, and she thinks that if she's working for the corporation, if she does something for them, that maybe they'll do that for her. And so that's what spins her off, and that's her perspective. The other one is other main character is Jacob Riley, and he's this he's an integration technologies consultant. He's an IT consultant, and basically what he does is he goes around and he hunts people that have got cybernetic implants. And in this world, there's a really big danger of going crazy whenever you get a cybernetic implant. And so he goes out and hunts people that have gone crazy, and because of the cybernetic stuff. And he's an old family man. He's burned out and can't get out of his past. He's stuck in his past, and is just living there, and very depressing and noir in a type of way. As the that typical type of character, and he can't escape from that. And then the third main character is a child, a little boy named Nate, and he's a savant when it comes to technology and connecting to the web, the matrix, if you will. And so he can um, do that kind of stuff naturally and things like that. And the corporations are after him because of his specific qualities and abilities. And so that's really where the three main characters of the story, as far as the protagonists go, that it is told through each of their different perspectives, because they don't start out in the same place, and they but they do meet up, you know about halfway through the story, and so it goes from there. But yeah, so that's kind of the perspectives.
Now, without giving too much away, one more teaser. Are we looking at corporation kind of as that's kind of like the ultimate evil of this series, or is there a little bit more going on with that?
Well, I mean, it's definitely, and it depends on who you ask, because as far as the characters go, but that's definitely the case. For instance, as far as Riley is concerned, he thinks the corporation is evil, and he doesn't want anything to do with them, and blames them for destroying his life and all this type of stuff. Whereas Eve, says no, they're doing good, and this is the stuff that they're trying to do to fix what they did, and and all this type of stuff. So it's more about people. The corporation itself ultimately is a vehicle of oppression, sure, but
Mhm.
um, the people within it are just people,
Right.
and about. I mean, people doing what they have to do in order to survive,
Sure.
and you know, uh, some of the characters, even the corporate characters, the corporate bosses, and things like that, are doing terrible things for reasons that they believe are good. You know, and so that's so again, it's not written. So and that's something that I wanted to do. I wanted to try to broaden that perspective, right? Because as far as like
Yes.
the cyberpunk tropes go, it's it's the evil corporation type of thing. That's the
Yes.
trope. And so I kind of wanted to build on that. I kind of wanted to, spin off of that, in a way that explored it from a little bit of a broader perspective.
I think that's important because a lot of times, whether we're looking at a story, and in a story, because it's being told to us, it's a little bit more dictated. But in life, we always like to think of things in good or bad, right? But providing that extra perspective is important because, like you said, the corporation is very likely justifying a lot of what they do. So it's important to give that because then you're also giving the reader the chance to make their own decision. So I love that. Now, another thing, Jason, we talked about off air was publishing a little bit. Would you mind? Why don't you share your journey with us a little bit and kind of just give us an idea of you've been writing a long time. Storytelling is something that you really enjoy. Um, what has that journey been like?
Well, uh, I was around for the advent of the self-publishing industry in the 2006 ish era, whenever
Mhm.
it really started taking off,
Sure.
and back then it was a completely different game, and you had these companies like iUniverse and Ex Libris and these types of places that were are basically selling a lie,
Yeah.
and so they were selling these huge package deals, for thousands and thousands of dollars, and authors back then were eating them up because they
Sure.
thought, we all thought that, well, if we get published, then we're going to end up in a bookstore, and wrong. Wrong. That was not the case at all, but none of these
Yeah.
places ever told you that or anything like that. But I was around for that, and I had just finished this book, and a creative writing one of my creative writing professors, I went through, I did my entire 4 years of college, and the college that I went to did not offer a creative writing course, if you can believe it, until after I graduated. And so I went back and took it. And,
Oh, good for you.
and, the story that I've been working on for that class, the professor was like, "You need to publish this." And I was like, "Well, I wonder if I can do it myself." And so I basically, taught myself how to do a book. And as far as self publishing goes, I cannot overestimate the importance of that very thing enough. Okay, yes, writing the story and telling the story, but putting your book together is actually crafting that a masterpiece, is actually crafting that work of art. Okay, it's not just about the story, it's how you craft that story. Okay, and so I'm talking about editing, yes, but also formatting, also
Sure.
the chapter breakup, and and all this type of stuff. It all adds it it's all part of that. It's so don't look at a book. You can't look at your book then as just a story, as just the story. The book itself is the art. And so you need to and that was a lesson that that this whole process taught me, was that I do not underestimate the importance of that. Do not underestimate the importance of of doing it yourself at least once, so you know what you're doing. Okay, and then later on, if you're like, well, I would rather pay these people a few $100s to format the book and do that for me. Well, you already know then what you're expecting. You already know then what you're looking for, right? And so whenever so what these people give you back, if you're going to go that route, you'll have a more critical eye. You'll have
Sure.
a foundation and authority to speak on these things because you've done it, you know what you're talking about, and you know what you're looking for. And so that was again, the process of that was invaluable for me. The and the book itself was is was the first book that I had ever like officially published, and I was super proud of that. Before that, I was getting poetry published in journals or short stories, this website or that. Most of them aren't around anymore, type of thing. But that was my first book, and and so I had done that, and it was hard. I mean, as a self-published author, I mean, the one thing that you really learn is how hard it is to get yourself out there. I mean, and even finding those opportunities. And I mean, like I said, this was back in the the peak of this time, right? The peak of the self-publishing craze. So you could go to like the little bookstores and stuff like that. Here we had a decent sized local chain. It was called Hastings, and they would let you come in and do like author signings and stuff like that, and so you did that kind of stuff too. But then it wasn't enough. People didn't care. It's like, okay, there's this dude standing by the door with the table full of books. It's like, don't make eye contact. Let's walk right on by. And some of these, and they were there every day. Like all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There was an author there. And so pitching the books, trying to sell the books, and that's and so it was hard, and so I decided that well, I want to try to publish it like a traditional type of way, right?
Sure.
At first we all go to the agent thing, and trying to find an agent or trying to get it into one of the big houses, and you go through the whole process of the hundreds and hundreds of rejection letters, and that just keep coming in. I mean, it got to a point like months would go by. I would forget I even submitted to this agent. Like go by and I'd get a rejection letter randomly in my email, and I was like, oh, okay. But that kind of it did deal a blow to me. It dealt a blow, and started suffering from pretty bad imposter syndrome around that time. And this was probably 2010. And at that time, I was working on my next books it was called the Ruined Man series, and I had I'd gotten these books done. I got the rough draft finished, and I was just disgusted with it all. And I forget it. I'm not trying anymore. I don't want to write. I'm done, and I'm giving it up. And so I had found a small publisher, an independent house, doing a submission call, and and I was like, well, okay, I'll send it. I mean, they're probably not going to accept it, but I'll send it anyway. And I sent it into these guys, and and said, hey, we want to publish this. We love this story. We think it's great. And not only do we want to publish it, we want to break it up and do a series. And we want to take this first book that you wrote and publish it as 2 different books, and all this stuff. And oh my God, I was over the moon. I mean, because the great thing about the traditional publishing route, even through an independent house, I think, is the fact that it's a type of validation that an artist needs, right? That somebody outside yourself, or outside your circle is saw something that you did and was like, yeah, yes, I want to be a part of this. Let's do that. And so that is something that we crave, as any artist craves that. I mean, that's why we do this, to share it, right?
That's right.
And so that is. And so that is really what I got from that experience, was that validation of, okay, so you're not a complete hack, and and somebody else read this, and and they did like it, and and they're going to publish it, and you're going to get this book published, and but that's where I let my expectations get away from me, and I started moving from the realm of reality into the realm of imagination, because and that's what I would say the lesson that I learned from this traditional publishing experience is do your research and make sure that you know you understand what you're signing as far as the contract goes. Okay,
Yeah.
you know always make sure that there is a clause or something like that uh, in there to get your work back, because um, publishing stuff goes out of print all the time. Publishing houses go under, even the big five. I mean, that kind of stuff. And this is exactly what happened to me with this independent house. Was that my books, The Ruined Man, had come out in 2017. Was a finalist in the New Mexico Arizona Book Awards up here, and was steadily selling, and was doing great. And even with, I mean, because these guys were doing the minimal as far as marketing would go. I mean,
Yeah.
posting graphics, the same like 3 or 4 graphics that they had made over their social media accounts for all their book. I mean, nobody was looking at that stuff. I mean, that's and and so it was me like going out there and like hustling and being like, oh, read my book, emailing this reviewer or that reviewer, or all that kind of stuff. So I mean, so that part doesn't go away just because you
Right.
get or a more traditional type of route as far as publishing goes. That part does not go away. As a matter of fact, it's even more important, right? Because because you want to sell more, because now you're splitting your royalties, and and yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, you're absolutely right. It, and it seems like I'll just jump in real quick and just say, you were talking a lot about like the Wild West almost of indie publishing when that first happened, and the scary part is, right, there's still companies out there looking to take advantage of authors. But I guess, I mean, thanks to the authors who came before newer writers like me, we can learn from those experiences. But yeah, back in the day, I would imagine um, you had a lot to learn. You didn't have anybody to lean on. You guys were doing that by the seat of your pants. And now, like you said, it's just a different world. If you're technically capable, you can handle a majority of the work yourself. But what doesn't change is having to get your book out there, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and and that's the same across the board, like I said. And I mean,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter if you're self-publishing or traditional publishing, or I mean, the only person that's really going to try to get your book out there is you. I mean, because you're the one, it's your baby, and so you have to be its first advocate and most loud advocate, as far as that goes, to get yourself seen. Because I mean, the downside to the self-publishing, and all that type of stuff, is that we are just inundated with books now.
Yes.
Amazon, I mean, has over like somewhere around 40 million books, okay, for sale. 40 million book. That's insane. That's insane.
Yes. Yes, it
And
is.
so the doing what everybody else does, it doesn't work because everybody else is doing it. And so that's the problem that I ran into, like I said, these with the small house that I was working with for a while. And they were, like I said, doing the minimal, and nothing was happening from it. Well, this was in 2019. um, uh, second quarter of 2019 was the last that I received from these guys. They just went silent. They quit answering emails. They quit answering phone calls. They quit doing anything for over a year. I mean, these guys were completely. I wasn't getting royalty checks. I was getting nothing. They quit. They quit with their social media accounts and all this type of stuff, and just like dropped. And and I was like, well, what can I do? I started talking to people, having some people look at the contract and being like, can I get my books back? Because these guys aren't doing it. They're what can I do? And they're like, well, no. This contract is there's nothing in it that says that. You would basically have to go. They would have to go out of business and decide to give you your books back. And thankfully, that is what happened.
Oh,
Um,
good, good.
at the beginning of this year. I mean, so January 20 or February 2021, I finally got the rights to the Ruined Man back, and I had another publisher um, waiting in the wings that actually
Oh,
called me and it said, hey, if you can get these back, we want to publish them for you. And so, and so these guys are a little more established and have it together more. And so that's what's coming up next. Then is they're going to be re-releasing the Ruined Man series.
that's
Here.
exciting.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, I really did. I loved the Ruined Man books and the Ruined Man series, and I always wanted to finish it out, but because of how these guys were handling the first two books, I didn't want to finish that third book, and I was like, because they're not going to do anything with it. It's going to fall flat. And I can't really take a third book in a series to another publishing house and be like, hey, do you guys want to publish book 3 in my, the other two, these guys got the other one. So I was like, I don't want to do that. But now I finally get to finish out the series. And so I'll be working on that third book as well. And so I'm excited about that. But yeah, so a lot of lessons to learn, whichever route you decide to go. And I mean, there is no, I guess, magic magic route that's going to make all of your writing dreams and wishes come true. I mean, that's just not there. I mean, that's work, and that's like the tears and the suffering and the endless sleepless nights and
Oh,
that sort of.
and the imposter syndrome is real too. So let's not leave that out.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, so that's great. So you got the Ruined Man series back. When do you have an expected date for re-release? Or are we a little early on that?
Well, it's a little early. I just got the edited or the new publisher's edits and sent back my notes. I sent back my notes today. So it'll be a few months. So I'm guessing probably late fall. I'm guessing around between October and December is when they'll release at least the Ruined Man again, and then the Dark Goddess will be out shortly after that.
Wonderful. What other do you have any other logs in the fire that you're working on currently with writing?
Oh yeah, I've almost finished typing up. That's something else that I do now is I type up the initial draft on a typewriter.
Okay.
And I can't use a computer anymore because it was too much of a distraction. It became too much of a distraction, and I had to just say no. I can't. I don't get writing done if I'm, especially that like I said, that initial like creative like flow inspiration type writing. You can't do that whenever you're stopping to I can't think of what to write. Let me just go look on YouTube for this or that, or I'm going to check Facebook, or 3 hours later, So I gotten this the first draft of this this new book in a series. It's another sci-fi book. Takes
Good.
place in a distant solar system type of thing, and these guys are going around rediscovering their history. Basically, they've been there so long that they've forgotten who they were, type of thing. And so, it's going to revolve around that. And like I said, I have a whole series outlined for this, and so I'm excited. I'm almost done with the first book, and after that, I'll be looking around to see what to do with it. And so, yeah. So that's it. And then after I get that done, I'll start the third Ruined Man novel.
Awesome.
And so yeah, it's going to be a busy busy months ahead. So yeah.
But like you said, there's no magic pill. So the magic pill in this case is keeping busy, right? And putting the typewriter keys down. So, one foot in front of the next, I guess, when it comes to that. And, it's really neat that you keep such an open mind when it comes to what you're looking to do with that next series, that, the book that you're just finishing. It doesn't sound like you're necessarily committing to self-publish or find a smaller indie house or an indie house you've worked with before. And there's a lesson to be learned there. I know so much of the indie business circles around just Amazon, but there are a lot of authors doing very well going the smaller publishing houses route, going wide versus Amazon exclusive. So there's a whole nother side to the conversation when you're in a position like you, when you almost have something ready to either shop or move down the publishing path. So that's great.
Yeah. And thank you. I'll probably do a mixture of both.
Sure.
Like I did with Eve, and it was something that it was a book that honestly, I'm in love with this book. I love it. I think it's the best thing that I've written so far, and so I was I don't know, maybe too picky about maybe jaded, maybe too jaded by experiences and things like that to let this person or that place have it. And
Yes.
so yeah, ultimately I said, you know what, no, I'm doing this one myself, and and put it out like that. And I've I couldn't be happier with it. I could not be happier with it. And it's a completely different experience than when I first self-published Seamus back in 2008. Right, it's a completely different experience with it now, and and I don't have a lot of those old hang-ups and insecurities. As far as where I was at in my writing process and all this type of stuff that I did back then. And so it's been more satisfying this time. And I honestly, I did not go with Amazon exclusive. I don't like that. I used Ingram to get it out there. And that's the route that I wanted to take with it, just because it gives. I want people, and I think it's great to have buying options, right? And that's and so that's why I went with Ingram, this time instead of with Amazon doing a Kindle Direct or that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and again, that was I'm much happier this time around with it. But yeah, much better experience.
That's great. So yeah, you got a lot going on. We have Eve out now, so it's available. Where's it available? Give us a heads here.
Song.
Oh, okay. Oh, I wasn't sure if you had. I wasn't sure if you had decided to go wide with all of your books or not. That's funny.
No, it is on Amazon, but it's everywhere. You
Okay,
can,
good. So it is wide.
Right. I mean, you can go to your local bookstore and have them order it type of thing. I mean,
Yep.
that's one of the benefits of going through Ingram, is that
Yes.
it gets put in the catalog like that. So I mean, so like I said, that is an option. So if you're like, well, hey, I want to check out this book and I want to support my local indie bookstore,
Yep.
there you go. You can do
That's
that.
it.
You can do that. Run out and do it. But yeah, no. If you want to do it, like I said, it's on Amazon. I was doing a search for it the other day. It was like on Target and Walmart. And,
The websites, I think they
uh,
get you onto those websites. Yes.
yeah, and so yeah, it's wherever books are sold was what they used to say. But
Yes.
so yeah, that's where that is. And I don't know what the Ruined Man is going to be. If these new guys are strictly Kindle or not, I'll
Yep.
find that out shortly. Um, but that was something that they were trying to decide. Yeah, I don't know as far as that goes.
That listen, that's still exciting. Like we said, Eve out now. You have the re-release coming up of the Ruined Man, and you're finishing up a new series that, of course, that'll be a little ways off, but we have something to look forward to. Jason, that's great. Um, do you have anything for the audience before we wrap this up? And I'm going to get all of your information up on the screen for us. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience while you're here?
Uh, sure, stick to the story. One of the things that I see in social media groups and things like that, the characters or people say, I can't decide on what color my main character's shoes should be, or I'm having trouble mapping out the geopolitical history of this small country in my fantasy novel that I'm mentioning once, type of thing. I mean, and so that all that doesn't matter. Stick to the story. That's what matters. And all of the details that you need should be the details that drive that movie or the story forward, right? That's that is what matters. That is what keeps you and gets you from point A to point B, is the story itself. So stick to that. And whenever you find yourself getting all confused about, what's this or what's that, I don't know what to do here, I don't know what to do there, I read stick to the story. So ask yourself, how does that drive the story?
No, well said. Very well said. I can't even add anything because I agree with you. You know, in the end, those little details are important, but like you said, they should be feeding the story rather than a focal point. And sometimes I think we can like kind of psych ourselves out too as writers, right? Because we're no longer really looking at the story as just a reader, right? Of course not. So, I do, maybe we overthink it sometimes, but good advice. Jason, thank you so much for joining us today. Everybody, hang on a second. You'll get some links to where to find Jason. And of course, go check out his book, Eve. Amazon, Walmart.com, Target.com. You could find it wide. Thanks for joining us, Jason.
Thank you.
Take care now. Good night, everybody. I hope you had as much fun getting to know Jason as I did. He was a blast of a guest, so a big thank you to him for sharing his story. And I hope that you all get out and check out his book, Eve. Hang in there. As we get to the end here, I'll put up all of his contact information. So if you wanted to check him out, you can go ahead and do that. Until next time, when I interview author Ann Miles, get out there and discover new worlds. Good night, everybody.